We're going to move on now to the most exciting part of the symposium every year, the All-Star Award opportunity. And we ask people to submit brief case studies. We know everyone is super busy, so we try and keep the overhead to present ideas at a minimum. And if you didn't have a chance to submit your presentation this year, we plan to do this symposium annually and look for that opportunity next year. In addition to informing all of us about exciting work that's going on at this leading edge of using the material health information, just what Bill Walsh talked about, many of you are already doing with your products and projects. So if we were able to scale up some of that work through partnering with the Safer Chemistry Impact Fund, which remains an important goal of mine to accomplish, then I think we can accelerate that. But that doesn't take anything away from all the work that's going on right now. And it's an amazing story that many of you have to tell. And we really appreciate those who submitted their case studies. We had a number of them, and we selected the 4 that showed best for this purpose, the leading edge, that can be helpful to all of us to understand what people are actually doing and implementing this information, not just collecting it and reporting on it. I'm delighted to share with you this year's 4 winners, and I think we have all of you here. I encourage you to turn on your cameras when you present in a few minutes. First, we have Christine Mullan from Shaw Industries, Kevin Cole from Thomas Ennis from Coal Tar Free America, and Pelin Teskan from Playtech are going to share their stories. So without further ado, I want to introduce Christine. Christine is a product sustainability manager at Shaw Industries, a leading flooring manufacturer and subsidiary of Berkshire Hathaway. They're based in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and focus on sustainable building materials, advancing product sustainability initiatives across Shaw's extensive flooring portfolio, which includes carpet, resilient, hardwood, laminate, tile, and stone flooring products supplied to both residential and commercial markets worldwide.
My name is Christine Mullan. I'm the Product Sustainability Manager for Shaw's Hard Surface Products. I'm excited to share with you today our latest resilient innovation, EcoWorx Resilient. Before I dive in, I wanted to provide a little background for anyone who may not be familiar with Shaw. Shaw Industries has grown globally from our founding in North Georgia more than half a century ago. We have built upon our legacy in carpet to now include floor coverings for every possible place, as Wendy referenced, tile and stone, wood, laminate, resilient. Generations of associates have invented, innovated, and designed products for our evolving customer preferences and needs. Our vision, mission, and values are embedded in all facets of our business. We aim to create a better future for our customers, our people, our company, and our communities with great people, great products, and great service always. We do that through our values of honesty, integrity, and passion. And sustainability is at the heart of all that we do. My team works to create a competitive advantage for Shaw, focus keenly on customer centricity. That customer centricity is further defined in our corporate sustainability strategy. We promise to design products to focus on the well-being of people and the planet, being a positive force in the global effort to mitigate climate change, fuel the circular economy with safe, sustainable, cradle-to-cradle inspired products, and help people achieve their full potential. So as our product offerings have expanded and diversified over the years, that promise has remained unchanged. It's been important to us that the strategies and promises that are made, that we make are kept and focus no matter what, flooring solution we're producing. At the heart of all the work is truly listening to our customers, and trying to understand what that next flooring solution may be and how we can meet those expectations as the market changes. Not that long ago, when talking about sustainability, most people went to topics like energy, water, waste. While those topics are still very important, and Shaw has done a lot of intentional work in these areas over the years. We're seeing an increase in attention to how products impact the people occupying a space. In fact, many A&D firms have, specific goals, commitments as it relates to material health of, products they're specifying, as I look to ensure the products they specify for spaces where people live, work, play, heal, and collaborate support the health and well-being of the occupants. That's kind of where Shaw has that competitive advantage through programs like Cradle to Cradle and our decades of work to ensure products are manufactured in a responsible way. That's, how we differentiate ourselves from our competitors. And at the end of the day, being a sustainably focused manufacturer means considering both people and the planet. For Shaw, that holistic approach came to life in the 1990s when we were inspired to bring something new to the market. In the 90s, everyone had PVC carpet tile, including Shaw, but we had a group of young, optimistic engineers inspired by green chemistry and the cradle-to-cradle design philosophy to bring something new and innovative to the market. We wanted to develop a carpet tile that considered the health and well-being of people, designed to be fully recyclable and PVC-free. In 1999, we did just that with the launch of EcoWorx Carpet Tile. When the Cradle to Cradle Products Innovation Institute was established, we became the first flooring manufacturer to have a Cradle to Cradle certified product with our EcoWorx Carpet Tile. The design philosophy and certification program consider the 5 key categories of sustainability: material health, clean air and climate protection, product circularity, water stewardship, and social fairness. Our commitment to Cradle has continued and permeates through our business today. Almost 90% of the products we manufacture are Cradle to Cradle certified. Our success with EcoWorx Carpet Tile has continued to drive our innovation at Shaw. EcoWorx became our legacy and innovation that highlighted our ability to address market demand for carpet tile that delivered performance, design, competitive cost, and sustainability. When we entered the resilient business, that desire to address market expectations in a flooring product category dominated by PVC was strong. How could we deliver a resilient solution that considered all of the cradle to cradle categories you see listed? I'm proud to share that just as we disrupted the commercial flooring industry with EcoWorx Carpet Tile 25 years ago, just last year, we disrupted the flooring industry once again by introducing EcoWorx Resilient. Let's dive in to EcoWorx Resilient a little bit more. Customers have been asking for a PVC-free resilient flooring for several years. When it came to resilient flooring, aligning all of those key attributes, it didn't come quite that easy. Sometimes great performance meant a higher cost. Sustainable ingredients made the design capabilities limited, or a great price point may be achieved through sacrificing on performance and design. We wanted something that hit on all of these in order to launch a product. Our ongoing desire to disrupt the resilient business kept us hard at work to find a solution. With EcoWorx Resilient, customers don't have to compromise or just check a few boxes with this resilient flooring solution. Addressing the first concern with the price, the cost is comparable to competitive resilient products offered today. The product is ideal for heavy use in high traffic areas, features our ExoGuard Plus coating for high performance and static load rating. It's light, easy to handle and install, easily maintained with a dry mop and a neutral pH cleaner. The design of our products was very important to our brands. So the EcoWorx Resilient platform features a direct digital print. It allows you to minimize pattern repeats with digital printing. And then obviously the most important, sustainability. Our product meets that growing kind of market expectation for PVC-free, as well as material health, climate impact, and circularity goals. The compatible chemistry of our EcoWorx Resilient Also, it's with our carpet tiles, we can actually, through our return reclamation program, take back EcoWorx Resilient and recycle it into our EcoWorx carpet tile backing so that we're continuing to make more EcoWorx product with the product we're bringing back and diverting from the landfill. We'll move into more about that return scenario a little later, but as you can see here, this platform we're in progress with Cradle to Cradle certification. It's Green Health approved. We have a Declare label and HPD, Green Guard Gold, and a product specific EPD. And while we're glad to have brought a solution to the market that checks all these boxes, we're hopeful that our customers and end users keep this product in circulation for many years by returning it at the end of its useful life. Just as EcoWorx Carpet Tile was designed from the onset to be fully recyclable, so too is EcoWorx Resilient. The fact that 145 million tons of building-related construction and demolition debris end up in the landfill every year is not something we can sit back and ignore. For more than 2 decades, we've been focused on designing for the circular economy. Our EcoWorx products, both Carpet Tile and Resilient, are made using recycled materials and can be recycled at the end of their use into more EcoWorx products. With our return reclamation program, we're sending that message that we do want it back. Within that return program, what we call the environmental guarantee, where these EcoWorx products will come and facilitate a pickup and reclamation at no cost to the consumer, following our guidelines and minimums. This is a visual overview of the return program, showing that by diverting the EcoWorx Carpet and Resilient from the landfill, we're bringing that back here to Georgia, putting it back into more EcoWorx products, thus reducing the need for virgin raw materials. It helps with your carbon footprint. We want our EcoWorx product back at the end of their useful life. This is a brief snapshot of our launch of EcoWorx Carpet Tile and the different transparency documents and certifications we've become involved with over the years. And you see our launch of EcoWorx Resilient. EcoWorx Resilient has met our customers' expectations. We are thrilled to bring this product to market that does not compromise on performance, design, price, or sustainability. It addresses all of these important attributes equally. We hope to inspire more customers to participate in the circular economy by continuing our work to reclaim and recycle as much EcoWorx as possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christine. What a very interesting story, and demonstrates the work with Cradle to Cradle that you've been doing at Shaw. This kind of optimization takes a lot of commitment. I'm sure you'd agree. Now, we have a couple questions, but we're going to move on to our next presenter. We have Kevin Cole from Terramai here with us. Kevin is vice president at Terramai, specializing in exterior wood products and executive sales. He describes himself as an industrious leader and pioneer of hedonistic sustainability, bringing reclaimed and sustainable wood solutions to architects, designers, and builders. Works with water reclaimed wood and other unique sustainable materials, committed to sustainability operations, including their installation of 880 solar panels. Graduate of Prescott College with nearly a decade of experience in the reclaimed wood industry. So, Kevin, would love to hear from you.
Yeah. Thank you, Wendy. Can you guys see my screen and hear me
Yes.
okay?
Yep.
All right.
You're good to
Well,
go.
I like that the introduction was interesting. The decade in reclaimed wood makes me seem a lot younger than I am. So we're going to leave it at that, but it might be a little bit longer than that. I'll jump right into Terramai. We're known as a pioneer in the reclaimed industry. So we've been reclaiming wood the last 25 years, starting with post-consumer reclaim, the kind of reclaim that everyone's seen in coffee shops and the gray weathered wood from old barns or factories. I pushed hard to move it into a much larger scale than just a pickup truck and a few old boards. We brought it to the commercial world in the A&D specification market, having materials all around the country in sample boxes and salespeople doing presentations. our sourcing and inventories need to be very deep. We take a lot of pride in having products that we can show and have on our website, and then 2 years later, still have the same materials. We push the limits on where you can find wood in large sustainable scales. What we're here for today and what we won the award for is our faux shugiban finish. So this is a specific finish on just a certain number of our products, but it's a great case study, innovation we strive for. The original way to get this burned, charred look, it's a old traditional Japanese style of preserving wood to make it last longer on an exterior and to give it a really unique look, where they burn the surface of the wood. And there's a lot of companies doing that now. When you're burning wood, you're releasing smoke, you're releasing particulates, you're releasing CO2s, and then this finish needs to be top coated, and a lot of times it's done with a petroleum-based finish. But at TRMI, we've got a long-standing history of being tree huggers and caring about our employees. We were using no VOC finishes before the commercial world was really caring about it, because we cared about our people applying these finishes. We didn't have fancy finish lines in the beginning. It was all done by hand. So whatever our team was applying, they were breathing. That was our initial desire, to stay away from VOCs in our finishes. When it comes to the burned look, this is how it was born. This is a story of how we got started. There's a never-ending desire when you work in the specification market to appease the designer, and the designer is trying to appease their client. And this was a very driven client that had very specific desires. This is HBO. It's one of their offices in New York. This installation was in 2011. But their criteria was a burned finish that would not come off. So it could not get wiped away or fall onto this nice, crisp white floor. Something that was said many times was, if someone's wearing a white dress, they can't get on the white dress. And I don't know who wears a white dress to work, but that was one of the client's expectations. So we worked diligently to develop this burned finish that was sealed well with a coating that wasn't going to off-gas. No matter what polyurethane we were using, water-based polyurethane, the most matte finishes known at that time, there was still too much gloss. We could not encapsulate that burned char. It kept coming off, or there was too much sheen. Round after round of samples got rejected. Someone in our company said, what if we used a textured wood, applied a stain and a dark oil? So that's what we did. What you're looking at in this installation is a textured oak. This is reclaimed oak from old barns or old fences that has original saw marks on it, has that original patina. And we went through a process of staining it and using a black dark oil. Both are no VOC finishes. Then we sent the samples off, crossed our fingers, and the client loved it. So kind of full circle moral of that story is, this is what innovation means. Not necessarily giving a client what they want or what you believe someone wants. It's thinking of a solution that checks the boxes. Because what this client wanted was texture and matte finish with no mess. Burning the wood was a distraction, running us down rabbit holes when all we needed was matte black texture and no mess. It was a learning that I feel like TRMI has continued. A lot of our products have been developed in this way. And that question that every business should be asking, like, what is a different way to go about this? Is there another way that's easier, lower cost, and more healthy? But this product is, it's kind of taken off on a whole new light. We do a lot of different things with it now. We put it on slats, work it into acoustic ceiling and wall systems, and keep improving on what works. Just some more pretty pictures of this material. And you can see that lady leaning up against there. She can be wearing a white dress and she'd be okay. While a lot of finishes used on wood products have VOCs, there are definitely options that do not. And we developed an exterior version of this as well. With the exterior materials, there's not as much pressure from the design community to stay away from VOCs, but when it comes to the health of our employees, we make sure that even our exterior products stay in the no VOC range. All right, that's the story of Toshugiban Teramai in a nutshell. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Kevin. What an interesting story. I love the way you explain the innovation concept. I'm going to invite back Christine, and we do have a couple of questions. Nice comment from Sarah, true leaders for you, Christine. Christine, have you reached out to any of the firefighting community to support your PVC-free flooring? I assume your product has better outcome when burned. I predict they would be very interested.
Actually, we haven't. That is a great idea, but no, we have not reached out to them specifically regarding the new product.
It's an interesting comment because one of the things we've heard with the work we do with HPDs is that there's confusion sometimes between the impacts on occupants. Kevin, you did a great job illustrating that the concern about having chemicals in the product or in the production process spans not just occupants. Your comment was interesting that sometimes there's less concern about VOCs in an exterior product than an interior product. It makes sense because we think about occupant impacts. The hazard-based methodology of disclosure of potential health impacts was selected at the outset of our work. The data that fuels that for screening comes through the entire lifetime, which does include end of life or catastrophic outcomes such as fire, as well as the beginning of life if a chemical has hazardous outcomes when it's mined or produced. And then, of course, there are the many impacts that can happen along the way. Such a great point because we're hearing about difficult health outcomes for firefighters and first responders when they go into these settings. One time I was asked to participate in a podcast after that building collapse of the condominium on the coast of Florida. The podcast host thought, wow, the last time we were talking about piles of rubble was 9/11, and it turned out to be kind of 10 years after that. And so she was wondering, has there been progress? What's been the progress in understanding what could be in those? She asked me a simple question. She said, we had HPDs for all the products that went into that building and the furnishings. Would we know the chemicals that are there? The answer is yes, we would. So regardless of whether we knew the impacts when those chemicals were put in place, the disclosure work that all of you are doing and including that information and the specifications for buildings really helps inform not only the present, but for a long time to come. We have another question for Kevin. Does the stain process protect the wood as much as the traditional charring did for outdoor use?
I believe it can. What really matters is the underlying material. So the wood underneath the treatment, whether it's burned or it's a finish, it's how much does that the wood expand and contract? Because the more wood expands and contract, the more it allows weather and sunlight and moisture to come into the material. Confident in saying that our current finish offering competes very well against anyone doing a contemporary version of burning the material. And ours is easier to reapply. That's one of the big reasons we choose our exterior finishes is how easy they are for reapplication. If someone wants to maintain that color, They're not going through a
Ah.
terrible process of sanding and refinishing. It's a pretty simple, clean, and refresh type of finish. That was a good question. And there's a lot of good questions when it comes to exterior products, that's for sure.
Here's another one. I think you may have covered this, but just to touch on, is it made from only reclaimed wood or also new wood?
It could be made with both. One of the reasons we like using reclaimed wood, one of the most popular choices that we have is a weathered redwood that comes from old fencing in Northern California, because it already has that component of texture. Some of the grain has been eaten away by time, by, by the weathering. But we also do versions of it that are a little bit cleaner and more precise, where we take newer material or surfaced material that's been sanded and then heavily wire brush it or nylon brush it to remove some of the grain. And then that gives it more texture. So there's ways of doing it with new wood really great as well.
Christine, here's a question for you. How did you decide which product certifications you seek?
It's a great question. A lot of that on the commercial side comes from our customers, those firms that have transparency requirements built into their standards. So HPDs, declare labels, and air quality certification has become a standard across the board. Looking at EcoWorx Resilient being PVC-free and suitable for some healthcare environments, we pursued Green Health approved. Cradle to Cradle being a multi-attribute certification closely aligns with our strategy as a company. That's a rigorous third-party certification. We chose Cradle to Cradle for this product.
Okay, so additional questions that anybody might have at this point. Again, if something comes to your mind, please enter it into either the Q&A or the chat, and we'll make sure that it gets to our presenters and they can get back to you. And so with that, I want to thank Christine and Kevin. And we will move on to the next presenters. The next presenter will be Tom Ennis. Tom, are you here with us? I invite you to share your screen and let us hear this amazing story. This was a new one for me. I was not aware of this. As many of you know, I have a sister named Gail Vittori that is the reason I got into all of this. She said, I'm coming from the computing industry originally. She said, information technology is going to be so critical to the future of all this sort of work. After I retired from my corporate career, she said, maybe you could come over here and look at how you might be able to work on this, and introduced me to Bill Walsh, and the rest, as they say, is history. Very active in Austin, Texas, where Tom, I guess you guys did a lot of this initial work. It's an amazing story. I'm dying to hear it.
Well, in 16 minutes, I can't tell you the whole story, but I'd be happy to tell you more later. I changed my title slightly to make it a little more positive, working for cleaner paving products and making a difference. So we're talking about outside the building. Second slide, you can see that now, the little girl.
Yep.
So my goal in this is ambitious. I would like all of you to never cross a parking lot in the same way after this presentation. With that in mind, that's the goal. What do you see in this picture? Most people might say, I see a little girl having fun, chalk art on pavement, that's a great thing. After 20 years of working on this project, what I see is a potential exposure event. I see a little girl with her hand touching the pavement. You can actually get in the products we're talking about, they actually can absorb through the skin. If we looked at that little girl's hand under a black light, we would see it's stained from the chemicals in the product. I reached out to a chalk manufacturer who was having a contest, said, hey kids, go out there and experience the pavement. And I said, could you just warn the kids that have your parents figure out what's there so they don't have an exposure event? Never heard back. No interest in having a dialogue about that. One toxicologist called exposure with a child on a pavement like this a significant exposure event. So all that is happening in this picture. I've seen a lot of challenges. I appreciate Bill's presentation about cooperation from industry. In this industry, much of the industry has been reluctant to change and fought every step of the way. In this process, what can happen when a large group of people collaborate and work toward a common goal? In 20 years, I've focused on a particular toxic paving product. Sounds kind of crazy, but let's talk some more about it. So here's what I'm going to cover: how pavement maintenance can affect your indoor air quality, recognizing the unrecognized pollutant source. Most of the work I've worked on, no one's done this before. It's all brand new. I want to recognize the collective events, what was successful, and is it a model or just a mistake or an anomaly? Oh, and also, that's the last commercially available toxic pavement sealant in North America. Went off the market earlier this year. So celebrations. What are we talking about? Sometimes it's sprayed on, like the guy on the left there has a wand and he's just spraying this toxic product out there. This is a colleague of mine. When he scooped up, this is what it looks like. Seemingly harmless black stuff. But if you come across that, don't do that. That represents an exposure event. Here's a summary of the research. There's all these different vectors, whether it's washing off, volatilizing, wearing off, tracked into houses. As much as 60 different independent studies have been done in Canada, the United States, and Europe on this topic. A few years ago, to honor my colleagues at the USGS who did some of the early work with the city of Austin, I put this together. This is online, all hot linked to 19 different major outcomes when it comes to the environment, human health, sediment, and then worker safety. We did all that, done all that in these 20 years. Much of this early going was discovery and understanding. Since we've finished much of that discovery phase, we've moved into a sort of a ban stage or implementation. This, I want to focus on indoor because most of you folks are building people. If you are aquatic biologists, we could talk about frogs and salamanders and things. Here's a dust study. USGS was the primary author. These units, milligrams per kilogram, just keep in mind 23 is a probable effects concentration. Your typical coal tar sealant about over 4,800 and just no coal tar is 9. But we also see differences in the house. The house changes. A parking lot, we have 5 here and 129 there. There's no set standard for indoor air quality, but let me show you something. This long-term health effects of the exposure in the dust for a child and the dirt near the parking lot is essentially 1 in 10,000, which is 38 times increased cancer risk versus not living on a coal tar sealed surface. Massive lifetime cancer risk. 1 in 10,000 living with a smoker. This came out a couple of years ago, and as a co-author on that paper, I get notified when someone is quoting your paper. These Chinese researchers were looking to say, hey, we've got pretty terrible outdoor air quality and indoor air quality, but guess what? Chinese indoor dust is less than American. They were looking at Austin, Texas, where we did the study. So a China industrial city in China with really terrible air has better indoor dust quality than what would be on a coal tar sealed parking lot in Austin. The other thing I'm always trying to do is put this in context. Long-term, multi-year, maybe it's up to 15-year study right now, ongoing, following children exposed to PAHs, that's a chemical of concern, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. Looking at that versus the seal coat, we have about 300,000 coming off a parking lot as it cures and dries. What affects pregnant women is an aging parking lot as it continues to waft off chemicals. That chemical exposure is 138. So 36 is enough that you can have a statistically significant reduction in your IQ, your behavior, your birth weight, head size, etc. Yet we continue to do this around the United States. So I've done a lot of work on this. Let's look at the good news and what you see and what you don't see. No longer retail available in North America. 30 million pounds of toxins reduced every year. currently, more than 100 bans across the United States, statewide bans in these 6 states. It affects close to 100 million people, supported by American Medical Association. A nationwide ban started in Canada. Here's some of the stuff you don't see. We had dozens of staff members working at the City of Austin and USGS in 2003. More than 60 peer-reviewed papers, 400 articles, 20,000 emails, dozens of nonprofits, dozens of presentations, 1,000 politicians and staff, 400 gigabytes of data, 3,000 posts on X, 75 videos, and 3 inventions. That's what it's taken to get that. So that's my wife and my granddaughter there, honoring some folks who were instrumental. Tom Beshear on the right. He was first to figure all that out with the City of Austin. Congressman Lloyd Doggett from Texas helped push the EPA to do a study on this. Some politicians may do lip service, but he did what he could to move that along. These are the 2 primary USGS researchers. There were others, Barb Muller and Pete Van Meter. I highlight these 2 interesting positive examples of people who've been affected. I got a call maybe 10 years ago. We get calls from upset parents. Hey, I just put something down on my driveway and then I saw your website. Tell me about that. She had 4 young kids. She put toxic stuff on her driveway. We went over some options. Next thing I know, I got a call from her and she says, hey, I'm running for city council. And the first thing I'm going to do is ban this stuff. The first ban in Pennsylvania is by Mandy Steele. She calls me a couple of years later, says, hey, I'm running for state rep. And she's working on a ban statewide in Pennsylvania. These Maryland school kids, 5th graders, did a study of this issue and presented to Howard County, Maryland, passed a ban. Then they went ahead and they testified before the state several times until a ban was ultimately passed in the state of Maryland. So 5th graders, by the time they were done, were high schoolers. They learned science and civics all at the same time. So this is what National Asphalt Paving Association says, no use for this stuff. So is it a model or an anomaly? I'll let you guys decide. The company I work for now is SEH. They hired me to help bolster sustainability with them. And I told them, hey, I'm doing this crazy paving stuff on the side. Are you guys okay with it? And they said, sure. If you're curious, you go look at that blog post. Are you paying too much for your carcinogens? Sometimes you do. The cheapest way to get carcinogens at your home is to seal your driveway with toxic stuff. That's it.
Tom, that's so inspiring. A huge congratulations on the level of accomplishment. We're very fortunate in the work we've been doing with this community. It includes over 1,000 manufacturers involved with voluntarily disclosing the chemical hazards in their products. That gives us tremendous opportunity for positive change. You've illustrated when you dig in on a particular chemical where change was possible. I think about doing that in an environment where the manufacturing community is supportive of change. And this, going back to Bill's talk, is why tools like what are being developed by Chem Forward with safer alternatives, trying to make that pathway simpler by working together, because there was a common solution here, right? But I think what a great case study.
I do work with a group of manufacturers that have alternative products, and I'm on their board of an association of people who are making non-toxic pavement products. Much of the industry is still resistant, like you.
It makes all the difference if everyone can share that vision of a healthier outcome. That's what we're up to here at Creating Now. We have a few questions for you, but we're going to introduce our final case study. This is from Pelin. Pelin Tescan is working with Pletech Inc. and is a business development engineer there, working on mass timber and sustainability based in Vancouver, British Columbia. You specialize in sustainable innovation and material advances in the built environment, working with mass timber and sustainable design. Pletech is a global leader in acoustic engineering and specialty flooring products made with recycled rubber. Graduate of University of British Columbia with a materials engineering degree. I'm an engineer. I love engineers, and focused on sustainable and circular design in the built environment. So welcome to the symposium, and we're very interested to hear what you have to share today.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I'll just go ahead and share my screen.
We can see it.
Awesome. All right. Thank you everyone for
Please do.
joining. I'll be talking about Applied Tech, who we are, and then also going over the Yale Divinity School case study that we were a part of. Applied Tech is a manufacturer. We process post-consumer tires into sound and vibration control products. Our greatest commitment is to keep tires out of landfill and reducing the environmental impact of the built environment. Our manufacturing is in Toronto, and we have a few global offices as well. This is a photo of our Toronto facility. We are a team of engineers that deeply value sustainability and the impact we have on our environment. Globally, one tire is produced per person per year, and that equates to over 25,000 kilotons of end-of-life tires. With a recovery rate of 67%, that means 70 million tires are left unrecovered each year. We believe that sustainability is a key factor in creating a better future for our planet, and we're committed to designing products that have minimal impact on the environment and encourage the responsible disposal of our products. All our products are made with at least 90% up to 94% recycled content. To further our commitment, we have developed a product take-back policy that outlines our approach to product end-of-life management. This policy is intended to ensure compliance with all relevant environmental regulations and to demonstrate the company's commitment to sustainable and responsible manufacturing. Customers can return their end-of-life products to Applied Tech for proper recycling and disposal. This applies to all Applied Tech products sold regardless of the date of purchase. Since rubber can be recycled multiple times, these materials will be incorporated back into our production process, reducing the need for new materials. It's a great program that helps with circularity within building materials and our production. We have a wide range of product applications. Our GenieMat FF product line can be used under poured concrete toppings for sound attenuation in high rises and commercial buildings. Our GenieMat RST series provides reduced structure-borne sound and vibration transmission and works great in wood construction for sound control required in multifamily housing. Our GenieWard product is made of 100% recycled gypsum fiberboard, and it's used as a subfloor panel. This provides a low embodied carbon alternative to traditional concrete toppings and eliminates the cure time associated with these types of floor toppings. And there's a long list of added benefits to not having a wet trade introduced into mass timber buildings. It's a big plus. We're happy to have been a part of over 100 mass timber projects. We believe that new mass timber buildings share our value for sustainable construction. However, a lot of the time, concrete ends up being brought back into these buildings as the mass layer for sound attenuation. This can sometimes feel like a step back when it comes to lowering the embodied carbon of the building. And so that's where our Genie board product really comes into play, where we have a dry mass layer system, which gets rid of the need for the non-structural concrete topping. It utilizes our Genie Mat FF and RST series to help meet the acoustic requirements while keeping concrete out of the floor assembly. Here's an overview of what our products qualify for in terms of LEED credits. We're able to help projects meet anywhere from standard LEED certification to LEED Platinum. This is all possible through our low embodied carbon, responsibly sourced and low emitting products. We have third-party verified EPDs through EPD Hub, as well as HPDs available. We have floor score certification and UL tested assemblies, and we're always happy to help projects meet their sustainability goals. I'd like to highlight the Yale Divinity School project, the largest living building certified housing complex on a university campus. It was a very exciting project that Plytech was able to be a part of. This project needed a solution for encapsulation of exposed mass timber that balanced fire ratings with acoustic comfort and material health. With the help of our solution, the project was able to achieve LEED, WELL, and Living Building Challenge standards. Plytech products are able to target a number of Living Building Challenge petals. Our products are free of redless chemicals, sourced responsibly through post-consumer rubber. The material makeup of the products benefits a project going for rigorous building certification. Here's the assembly utilized in the Yale Divinity project. I wanted to highlight some transparency on the embodied carbon associated with the different products used in the assembly. This assembly is one example for eliminating concrete toppings within mass timber. And so the buildup ended up being Genie Mat RST, a rubber layer, 2 layers of our Genie board series to add mass, underneath it, the Genie Mat FF for sound attenuation. So we've done extensive product testing, ensuring our products are free of heavy metals, including chromium, along with this long list of heavy metals. We're happy to ensure that there's no hazardous substances within our products. So this slide is to demonstrate that there doesn't need to be a compromise between acoustic performance and embodied carbon. As you can see, the majority of the data points are centered on the lower end of embodied carbon, while still achieving high performances for STC and IIC ratings. STC stands for sound transmission class, whereas IIC is impact transmission class. And so sound transmission is more focusing on the loud noises that you'll hear through loud music, someone listening to loud TV, whereas impact insulation is more on the floor side of things. So someone dragging a couch along the floor, or the high clicks and clacks of people walking around. Further looking into these diagrams, mass timber buildings are highlighted in green and the wood frame is in blue. This highlights that mass timber assemblies generally have lower embodied carbon compared to the full set of data. This is just reiterating that acoustic performance isn't linked to an increase in embodied carbon. So in conclusion, transparency comes first for Plytech. We really value having open transparency in our EPDs, HPDs, floor score, and heavy metal testing. The Yale Divinity project was an amazing opportunity to be a part of a Living Building Challenge project. We're also excited to be a part of more mass timber projects in the future and helping the construction industry meet sustainability goals. We value the engineering behind our products. They're engineered for residential, institutional, academic, and commercial sectors, and we're able to scale our solutions to what the project needs. So with that, I will close the presentation.
Thank you very much, Palin. We have some questions for Tom and Palin. Let me start with one for Tom. Is it just the coating that's a problem or the whole paving?
The coating itself is about 1,000 times more concentrated than the paving. The Europeans actually screen out, because when you recycle asphalt, that coating usually gets recycled back. We're having conversations with the National Asphalt Paving Association. Please pay attention like the Europeans do, so you're not continually contaminating the hot mix asphalt, because that's not only risk to the the end user, but the workers as well. It's hot, coming out at 300 and some degrees, and it's a health risk for the workers.
Do you have any material to help future activist city kids who spend a lot of time rolling around on hot asphalt?
I've worked a bit with cool coatings technology. That's the rage right now, but everyone's done water quality testing or human testing with these products, yet they're winning awards around the country. So little activists pay attention to that.
For you, Palin, how do you attenuate the toxic chemicals in the tires? You showed a chart. How's that working?
Our manufacturing is specifically not using a hot press formulation. Everything is cold pressed into its form. There's no VOC emissions associated with the product. By doing the cold press form, we're able to avoid any off-gassing associated with that.
Many of us have had the experience of getting a rubber mat or something that is off-gassing a very clear smell. How do you control that? Is it cold pressing, or are there other factors that help you control that? And this person was specifically wondering how that fits with the air quality requirements.
Yeah, we have third-party verified off-gassing testing because of the way that the products are formed through non-vulcanized processes. It doesn't emit that sort of smell. Typically comes with rubber products. And so when you come into contact with Plytech rubber, it's a lot different than those hot formed rubber products. We have fitness flooring available too, and those products don't require encapsulation and they're just directly under people's feet. Those are very important for the air quality because people are actively working out on the tiles, and because of their properties, they're able to keep the air free of the smell.
So the cold pressing is
Is
a
really good,
process technology to accomplishing that. How about the testing you do for heavy metals? What process do you use for that testing?
We got that third party tested. I can't recall the name of the lab off the top of my head, but we submitted our products to be verified to be free of those heavy metals.
Do you use a binding agent to hold the chrome rubber together? How does
Yeah,
that work?
I'm not certain on the exact formulation, but the crumb rubber goes into our manufacturing process, and any additions into the formulation are ensured to be free of any red list chemicals and hazardous substances. And then they're pressed into these rolls that you saw in the photo of the manufacturing facility.
Quite a lot of interest in the crumb rubber and how you control for toxic chemicals, heavy metals that are often part of those product?
Yeah, we go through a rigorous screening process of the crumb rubber because it's coming from external sources such as mine tires and post-consumer avenues. We make sure they're free of any metals or nails that might be embedded into it and do a rigorous screening process to make sure that the product is free of any external substances.
Very interesting. I know about some of the differences from that experience, and it totally transforms the product. Interesting how it triggered my thinking about something. Apple cider time of the year. All right. See, we also have Christine and Kevin here. So let me open this up to any of you. For those who have take back programs, what are your tips on how to ensure future deconstruction or construction team know that these programs that you have exist? How do you go about publicizing that?
I can go first. We demonstrate that we have this take back program for the installers of the product, and we're looking into getting some identifiers on the material itself. So when the building is being deconstructed or the material needs to be taken out, they can see on the material itself that it is able to be recycled. The information needed is already there on the product.
Any other thoughts from Christine, Kevin, or Tom on this one?
I will share that we also have a back stamp on our carpet products so that if you rip it up, there's the 800 number that you call to schedule the pickup. But our sales team uses this as an advantage when they are selling products. It is challenging. The customer who's buying the product isn't the same one that's, ripping it up at the end of life, but we have implemented some specific strategic sales roles in the Pacific Northwest and the Northeast that go out and really promote it amongst installers, just try and spread the word. We have a network of where our EcoWorx has been installed and how long it's been down. So maybe we can gauge and see if it's ready to come up, reach out and see if they're willing to give it back to us. Different things like that to make sure there's awareness, and the environmental guarantee, making sure it's at no cost to the customer. It also benefits them as well.
Any other thoughts on take back programs? Well, with that, I want to thank our case study awardees. Your award will be coming to you shortly, and we look forward to sharing your story more broadly as part of promoting what can happen when companies use the information, not just collect it. Thank you again.